automatically this will open in Google Chrome with the address localhost 8891/lab. Are you all able to see this?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So this Jupyter Lab, it will allow you to handle multiple types of data. Here you can view different types of data. You can also display rich output in the formats like visualization. You can show data in the form of markdown, and also for navigation we can use keyboard shortcuts. There are a lot of keyboard shortcuts which are customizable also, and we can also add behaviors to the Jupyter Lab instances by adding certain extensions, like we can change the theme, we can change the file editors and so on. And this tab you can see on the right hand side, this is called as launcher. As you can see here, this is the one place, as you start a new notebook, you can as you start a new Jupyter Lab, you can create different types of files from here: notebook file, console, terminal, text file, markdown, and so on. So new documents are opened as new tabs when you click on this. Like I want to create a new notebook. Once I click on this, a new tab is opened with the name untitled.ipynb. IPYNB stands for IPython Notebook. And if you want to create one more file of different type, you can just go here and click on plus. This will load the launcher again. Through the launcher, either you can create, or you can just go to menu file. In the menu, then new, what type of file you want to create, you can select and create the file. And while creating, it will not ask you what name you want to give to the file. Usually in Jupyter Lab, once you create, you have to either right click here and rename, or right click from here and rename it, or go to file, save as, then save notebook as, and then rename the file with the name whichever you want to give. Okay, are you all able to understand?
Yes.
Okay, moving on. I'm sorry. Jupyter Lab menus. Let us discuss about the menus. The Jupyter Lab has several menus which can be used to interact with the notebook. This menu runs along the top of the notebook just like any other applications. It has file, edit, view, run, kernel, tabs, settings, help. So these I'm not going to explain each and everything because most of these are self-explanatory. So we're not getting into detail for every single option in menu. I'll focus on the items which are unique to this particular notebook application. So let me start from here. This uh, this is called as file browser. This logo, which is having the logo of the folder, this is called as file browser. It shows you the files which are available to you from the location that you launch the Jupyter Lab from. That is from where you have launched the Jupyter Lab. This is the location. You can see the location. So here, if you want to create a new folder, go here, new folder. Click on it, it will create a folder. Give it a name, let's say Learning Jupyter Lab is the name which I'm giving, and I want to get into that folder. Just click on it, you will get into it, or go here and double click, you will be inside the folder. And then after coming inside the folder, if you want to create any type of the document, you can create from the launcher or from the file, or you can also upload documents here to this folder. Upload means once you click on this, a new window will open where you can select the files which you want to upload here. That is, a copy of the file which is somewhere else in your folder will be created here in this folder. There will be a new copy of the file which you want to work on. Am I clear with this? And just
Yes,
press
ma'am.
the refresh button. So finally we can use this to refresh the workspace, like if it happened to copy a file into workspace by using uh, maybe upload, or you have copy pasted some file or created some file, and if you want to refresh the whole environment, you can refresh the it by clicking on this refresh button. And this file browser, uh, this this part which we have here, this is called as file browser. And file menu, these will let you work with different files of different types of files and directories inside the system. And you can have multiple types of documents which are supported here. You can have a text file, you can have a Python file, you can have a notebook, or you can have markdown file also. So how to work with these things, I'll give you a brief example. So first let us start with the text editor. Here you can see the text file. Either you can start from here or go to file, add new text file. So just click on it. You will be this will open an untitled text window. That is, the name will be by default untitled. You can go and rename it, and if you don't want to rename it and just close it, the file still exists. It will be created, but this is a blank file. You can go and write anything at any place. Let's say text file 1, and I've saved it. Now if I want to create one more file, it will create it with untitled 1, 2 and so on. And this text editor is also configurable, like just like notebooks and all, this notepad and all. You can have tab spaces, white spaces, and you can do some configuration or any sort of indentation. If you want, you can do it here. And then I'll go and create a Python notebook and tell you how it works. Just click on this notebook or create from the file new. Now I've created an untitled notebook, and this is called as cell. Here you can have different types of code. So I'll tell you, whatever you want to do some calculation, you want to add some code, you can do it here. Let me just type a simple code and give a demo. I'm creating a function adder, Python simple function with 2 arguments. See, it's already indented. In Python, once you create a block of code, indentation should be there in the beginning of the line of the code. So it's already indented. Return a plus b. So I'm done with my function. I want to call this function adder 2, 3. I'm sending values to this function. Now to run this code, either you can go and click here, run the selected cell, or using the keyboard shortcut shift enter, You can run this code. This will give you the output here itself and create a new cell. Now here a new cell is created. Then save. As you keep on making changes in the document, you can give save here. If you want to keep adding these cells, just click on this plus, it will add one more cell. Then cut, copy, paste. Cut, copy and paste. It works in the same way as in any other application. Then run the selected code. This is to stop the kernel. By default now Python 3 kernel is running. If you want to stop it, you can stop it from here, or if you want to reload the kernel, you can do it from here, or restart the kernel, then rerun the whole notebook. That can be done on a single click. I will tell you how this whole notebook works. Then we have this code. There are different types of documents or contents you can have in IPython notebook: code, markdown and raw. Now we are discussing about code. I will tell you what are these things also. So I just told you what is a cell, how to write a code and how to execute it. So now I'll tell you what is a cell inspector. Here let us see these menus: running, terminals and kernels. That will show you what are the terminals which are running, what are the kernels which are running. Then this is command palette. Here this in the Jupyter lab, it will help you to go through all the commands in the Jupyter lab, like menu bar, what are all the commands we have, what are the operations we have, everything is given here, which are applicable to the particular document which is open. You can go through this. Then this will show you the open tabs, which are the tabs open. Then this here you can see this logo similar to which is usually used for settings logo. This is called a cell inspector. Like I have selected this particular cell and this is the cell code with output. I want to present it as slide. You can change this as slide or sub slide or anything. Once you make these changes, metadata will be generated accordingly. This is for presenting your data in the form of slides. As you change the contents, the metadata will also change. Then these are this is the extension menu where you can go and search for some of the extension if you want to install any based on your requirements. So now let us see one of the newer features of the Jupyter Lab, which is this code console. Let me add here. This is the console. Once I click on this, untitled console will be created. This is not named or this is not going to save anywhere. This is just similar to the command prompt console we have, or any interactive consoles if you have learned in Ruby or Python. This is similar to idle in Python also. So it will let you run your code interactively. So you can just write your code here. And give shift enter. That code will be run. If you want to continue like code for multiple lines, display x plus y, go multiple line code, then give shift enter, it will run your code. And if you want to remove delete any particular cell, clear console cells, this will clear all the data in the console. This is similar to idle, which is an inbuilt interpreter, inbuilt interactive interpreter from Python. Here you can use console as such, but the advantage of using IPython notebook is, here in IPython notebook you can run the code, see the output, and you can also save the file. Whenever you want, you can come and change these values, run again, and the file will be saved. Then there is one more in the launcher, which is terminal. I will come back to IPython notebook. Here I have terminal. This terminal in the Jupyter project, it's similar to system console, like command prompt we have. It's just similar to it. It continues support from system shells only, but through the browser. So for Mac and Linux, it supports bash files and all. For Windows also, it supports, it works similar to command prompt. And these terminals can run anything that would normally run from your system's terminal. Also, we have to note here that the Jupyter Lab terminals run on this system that you have Jupyter Lab installed. That is, like if you have dual systems, or if you have different configurations and you have installed Jupyter Lab in a particular configuration, only that part of the system can be accessed through the terminal of the Jupyter Lab. So we have to keep this in mind when we are accessing terminal from the Jupyter Lab. You are using users privileges of that particular user. As you can see, I had login as administrator, so it's showing as administrator shell. Anyway, well, moving on to another type of file, which is markdown file. This markdown file is a simple and popular markup language which is used for text cells in Jupyter Notebook. Here it will let you create the documents in text format. It will let you edit the documents in text format. Here, instead of creating markdown file and changing the content, what I am explaining is how to include this markdown contents in IPython notebook. That I will give you as a brief explanation that will be useful for anyone who want to work on this Python from IPython notebook. So as I told you, there are three types of cells: code, markdown, and raw. We just saw this as this one, and then I'll just tell you what the raw is. Raw, we will not be using it. It's only intended for special use cases, like using notebook convert, like convert the notebook using some command line tool. That time this will be useful, and this will not be much used for any programming or any documentation purpose. Instead, we will use markdown for document purposes. I'll just give you a brief intro of how to use markdown for styling your text. Let's say I want to create a document which has code and also the explanation. So to start with, I've created a markdown file here, and I want to use some text which is a heading. So I can use hash space heading 1. This also should be executed by pressing shift enter or run. I'm giving shift enter. See, this is showing in heading 1, similar to H1, H2, H3 up to H6 we have in HTML. Here also you can use up to heading 6. This space is very much important, otherwise it will not take this as heading. As you can see the change in color. If you want to include like this number of hashes should be between 1 to 6 only. If you want to include 7 or any number, it will treat it as a normal text. As soon as I add one more to it, you can see the change in color. So let me run this and show you how this will look. See, the heading are displayed like this. If you want to have some explanation after these things, you can explain like you can see the explanation is in the normal text form. And if you want to highlight something, you can use bold or italics. What you have to do is to use italics. You want to use italic text means you can use single underscore or single asterisk, that is this will get you the text in bold, italics. Both will give you the text in italic format. If you want to include bold text, you can use double underscore or double asterisk. You can see, sorry. Okay, now you can see the text in bold. You can include by using double underscore as well, similar to this. And if you want to give some explanation, you can include bullets and numbering. What you can do is numbering, you can just go ahead with 1, 2, 3, but for using bullets, you can use just star. Let's say name 1 star. Instead of star, you can also use minus or hyphen. Or plus also. And I want to use this as markdown, and when I run this code, all these will be listed as normal list. And also you need to observe here, only for quotes this box, which is the cell, is visible. For markdown, the cell is not visible. The cell border is not visible. And if you want to rename the notebook with notebook1.ipynb. I've given. Automatically it will change here. Either you can go and change here also. And one of the special feature of Jupyter Lab is you can export this thing in different formats. You can go here, file, export notebook as. Here you have different formats: PDF, HTML, LaTeX, Reveal.js, Markdown, restructure text, and also executable script. So to convert your notebook into different format, you need to have certain software packages installed on your system that you have to install separately. Otherwise, by default, PDF via HTML is available. You can convert this notebook into PDF easily, directly. If you want to convert to some other format, you may have to download some of the um, software packages. Also, if you want, like, you can download this by using a special code. I'll just type the code, I'm not going to run it. Jupyter NB convert means notebook convert. Then input type, like what type of book it is, which is the file name. I'll just type it as file name dot ipynp, that is Python notebook double hyphen to PDF, or whichever the format you want to convert. Through command prompt you can do this. For that you have to log into that particular path where you have the Python file, like Jupyter notebook file. From there you can convert this to PDF through command prompt also. So here just to give a gist of whatever we have discussed till now. So the Jupyter notebook is quite useful not only for learning and teaching a programming language such as Python, but also we can use this for sharing your data. You can turn your notebook into a slideshow or share it online with GitHub. And this Jupyter Lab incorporates Jupyter notebook functionalities also, so we can work with an IDE that will run on the browser and that will let you do a lot of work easily in a single document. And we can also kind of think of Jupyter Lab as an advanced version of Jupyter Notebook. And in Jupyter Lab, it will allow you to run terminals, text editors, code console, everything in the browser. And in Jupyter Lab, it will allow you to run terminals, text editors, and code consoles from the browser in addition to the notebooks. And also, it allows, it's always a good thing to try out a new piece of software just to see if it's how it works, if it's worth using. Is it will it help you to do some task which you want to do with the normal software? So I encourage all of you to give it a try and see what you people think about it. So I'll be open to questions. Any questions? No questions? Shall we move on?
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes, Kaushik.
What is the main difference between Jupyter Lab as well as Jupyter Notebook, ma'am?
Jupyter Notebook was it was initially developed.
Yes, ma'am.
Uh, so here, Jupyter Notebook, when it was developed, it was just to include code and text data in a single document. But with Jupyter Lab advancement, it had certain features, like you can share this with GitHub. You can share this data by converting it into different formats. This format conversion was not there in Jupyter Notebook, but it is there in Jupyter Lab. So we can say it's like Jupyter Notebook is a subset of Jupyter Lab.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, if there's no other questions, thank you everyone. We shall proceed to the next session. Rakshita ma'am, is she online?
Yes, yes, I'm there.
Yeah. I'll stop screen sharing.
Okay. Good afternoon, students.
Good
Okay.
afternoon, sir.
So I will
Good
be
afternoon.
talking. Good afternoon, guys. Okay, so I will be explaining about the Pandas library. So my machine learning students would have already learned about this. So my other non-machine learning students, just I want you guys to. I want to give an overview of what is Pandas library. Also, what are the various libraries available for your data science. Okay, so before we start with the programming part, a small PPT on what all available pandas library we have. So these are a few main pandas library. First one is NumPy, then SEIPY, pandas, SKIT, learn, and for visualization mostly we'll be using matplot library as well as seaborn. So first is NumPy. What is NumPy? So basically NumPy introduces you for multidimensional arrays, matrices. So if you're working with your arrays, matrices, then we go for NumPy. So next is SEIPy. So these have collections of algorithms for linear algebra, differential equations, numerical integration, optimization, statistics, and it's built on NumPy. Next, we have Pandas. So it adds data structures and tools designed to work with table-like data. It provides tool for data manipulation, reshaping, merging, sorting, slicing, aggregation. It allows you to handle missing data. So in this session, we'll be mainly focusing on Pandas. So in our next session, we'll look into some other library. So the next library we have is SKIT Learn. So it provides machine learning algorithm, classification, regression, clustering, model validation. So SKIT is built on NumPy, SEI, and Matplot library. So your SKIT has few inbuilt data sets. So if we have time, enough time, I'll run with one of these inbuilt data sets. I'll just run the code and I'll show you guys. Next, we have Matplot library. So this is Matplot library is basically for your visualization purpose. So it provides you 2D plotting library. Uh, so line plots, scatter plots, bar charts, histogram, pie charts. So if you want to, if basically for your visualization purpose, we install this library. Cborn again, it's for the visualization. So it provides very high level interface for drawing attractive statistical graphics. Okay, so we will go to pandas now. So I hope all of you are clear with how to work with the Jupyter notebook. So I'll start with the introduction to pandas. So before we go to introduction to pandas, so what is pandas? So pandas is fast, powerful, flexible, easy to use, open source data analysis and manipulation library built on Python. Okay, so what are pandas? Pandas is built on top of NumPy and it provides implementation of a data frame. So it is a multi-dimensional array attached to rows and columns. Okay, so when we talk about pandas, So we come across these three concepts, that is series. So series is a fixed dictionary. Then we come across data frame. So data frame is a two-dimensional array, and then comes the index. So I hope all of you are aware of this term index. So what is data frame? So data frame is a table or two-dimensional array which array-like structure which in which each column contains values or of one or each values of one variable, and row contains values one of the set of values from the other column. So okay, so before, if you guys are working on this pandas for the first time, you need to install pandas. So to install pandas, we have this command pip install pandas. Okay, so before working on any of those libraries, you have to install those libraries. So this is how we have to install: pip install, and whatever the library you're using. If you're using TensorFlow, it is TensorFlow. If you're using Matplotlib libraries, then you have to use that one. If you're using skit, then pip install skit. Okay, only, first you have to install, and only then you can use it in your program. So next, we'll see. First we have to import the libraries. To import the libraries, we have import numpy as np. So we'll be using in this particular introduction to pandas. I'll be showing working on numpy as well as working on pandas. Okay, so this is how you have to import the libraries. Import numpy and import pandas. Okay, so these are the various operations which we encounter in pandas. So we'll encounter aggregation operation, subset operation, missing value handling, grouping, joining, functions. Okay, so initially we'll create a series. So to create a series, what is series? Series is basically a one-dimensional array of index data. So this is how we create a series. So I'm using numpy variable. So numpy dot array of, I'm giving three values. So to run, click on this run button. Okay, so next I'm importing pandas numpy. Now I'm printing whatever array I've created. So print array. So whatever values are there within array, I'm printing it. So I'm creating a array as well as I'm creating a series. So I hope you guys can see the difference. See, when I create array, so it's one dimensional array which is creating. So when I create a series, so you can see the indexing happening across whatever values I've given, there is a index value created. So it starts from 0 to n minus 1 values. Next I'll create this tutorial, this chapter basically is to demonstrate about the difference between series and arrays. So the next is I have a list of names, so I'm just displaying those name list. So I've copied the names in the name list, and then I'm displaying it as series. So you can see this. A name list is an array of 10 names, and then I'm using my series and I'm printing it in series format. So you can see whenever I use series, it starts with 0 and it ends with n minus 1 values. So you can see it starts from, I have typed faculty names. So next is I have created dictionary, list, tuple, set, string. So this is how we create a dictionary. So dictionary starts, if you have to create a dictionary, it is with the flower brackets. Uh, List is with angular brackets. Tuples is normal brackets. Again, flower brackets is set, and normal string is within the quotes. So when I run this command, so all these things will be, so I use series and I run it with series. So uh, everything displays with the series. So it starts with 0 and it displays along with the series. So series wrap both the sequence of values and the sequence of indices, so which we can access with the values and index attributes. So that is the advantage of series. So if you're displaying an array, you don't get that indexes, you will get series. You just get the values, but in case of series, you get the index values as well. So I'm printing a data set. So it's just an array which is getting printed. So next is if I want to index those array. So if I want to index an array, so I have this function called as index. So using this data, so this is my array of four values. So uh, data dot index, and then I'm printing it. So you can see I'm trying to access the value. So because I've used index, um, I'm able to index those values. So this it starts with 0, the stop is 4, and the step is 1. So the next is working with the series. So if I want a certain value, so I can use index. So names is my array with the faculty names which I've created. So this is my names array with the faculty. So this is my array. Now, if I want a particular value, then I can use names of using index. I can call those values. And then if I want to display all the values, then I have this array names colon 10. So it will display the first 10 values from the starting up to 10 values. So I don't have so many values. I just have from 0 to 6. So while NumPy array is implicitly defined integer index used to access the value, Panda series has explicitly defined index associated with the values. Okay, so your NumPy has implicitly it has index, whereas your Panda series explicitly it's defined index. So now if I have to access a particular value based on the index, so here I have created two uh, okay, I have two lists. I have two arrays. One is a name list, another one is a string array, another one is email. So I'm using the series functions to access the values based on the index. Okay, so here I'm giving index as the name list. So whenever and data as an email ID. So based on this name list, I can access the data. Okay, so for example, so faculty is my array. Okay, so using the index. So here index is a name list. So I'm giving Rakshita. So when I give the index as Rakshita, so associated email ID is displayed. Similarly, if I want to display faculty, this is one another way. If I want to index a particular value in an array, so you have faculty dot. So I've given you a faculty dot Chandrika. So the email ID associated with that particular name is displayed. So this is about series. So now we have something called as LOC and ILOC. So this is to explicitly uh, create the index label. So when I give faculty dot ILOC, so it is based on ILOC represents, basically it uses a range of from 0 to n. So when I give ILOC of 0, so the first location, so the first value in the first value will be fetched and will be displayed. So in my this particular array, Samita is the first name, so it is going to fetch the email ID with that particular name. Similarly, my faculty.lioc, so the 10th value, so my 10th value is Amit. So the email ID with that particular name, the name associated with that email ID will be displayed. Now we will go to how do we create series as a specialized dictionary. Okay, so your dictionary maps arbitrary keys to a set of arbitrary values, and the series map typed keys to the type values. Okay, so here we will see how do we map your series. Okay, so I am creating a so this is disability is a array which I'm creating with a proper with the index value. Okay, so over here I am giving the values. I'm basically I'm creating a series of this series named disabled. So when I'm displaying it, the number associated with that particular series is displayed. So for sight it is 81779. For hearing it is 85283. For speech it is 1693. So number associated with that particular name is displayed. So next we will go with the data frames. So if a series is, when you're talking about series, it is just a one-dimensional array. When you're talking about data frames, it is two-dimensional array. So to create a two-dimensional array, we have data frames. So what I'm doing is I'm creating two arrays. So first array with the district name, area district. So area and the district. So I have Delhi, Bangalore, Hyderabad, Mumbai, Chennai. I'm creating a series called area. So, and then I'm displaying the series. Next, I'm creating the population with respect to that particular district. So I have Mumbai, so much population, Delhi, so much population, and I'm storing it in creating a series, and I'm storing it in population. Now, series, I've created two series. So series is basically one-dimensional array. So if I have to merge these two series, okay, there is something common. So that is the city name is common. So I am merging those two into one particular data frame. So you can see this function pandas.pd is a pandas library dot data frames. So using this data frame, I am combining these two series, so population and area per square, that is area. So these are the title. Population is attribute name and population value. Area square is attribute name and area. So I am combining it into one particular data frame. So your data frame is a two-dimensional array, series is one-dimensional array. So I am joining this by making use of this data frame function. Now I have this. So my cities has population and area per square. So if I want to display the first top five values, then I have this function called add. So cities.add will display me the top five values, and this function cities.tail will display me bottom five values. And then cities.index will display the indexes. So what are the various index I have? I have Bangalore, all the cities whichever I've given is the indexes. Now if you want to display only the column, that is attribute name, so your column is attributes. Okay, so we have cities dot columns. If you give this function cities dot column, it will display all the attributes with respect to that particular function. Next, now, okay, so this is about data frame. Okay, so we saw about what is series, what is first we saw about arrays, then we saw about series, difference between arrays and series, and then we saw about data frame. So your array is one dimensional. So when you talk about series, you have indexes, inbuilt indexes with your series, and then finally we spoke about data frame. So data frame is basically it is a two-dimensional array. Now, then we discussed about what is head, what is tail, what is index, and column. Now, suppose you want to upload any text file or CSV file, we have this command read CSV. Suppose you want to upload any of the files, uh, we have this command read underscore CSV or read underscore Excel. So this will upload your CSV or text file or your Excel file. So over here you have to give the location of where your file is stored. So in my system, I have stored it in my F drive. So the data file is stored it in my F drive. So I've given the location of F drive. Okay, so if your file is where your Python files are stored, the home directory, then you need not give the relative path. You can just give the file name. So if your data file is in somewhere else other than your where your Python files are stored, then you have to give your relative path. So then we have this command called sample. So sample will display the top six. It will just pick some sample values and it will display you. So over here you can just see the indexes. It has picked some six samples. These are the serial numbers. So it has picked 82, 55, 86, 150, 93, 112. Okay, so this sample function is going to randomly going to pick some values. So next, if you have to see, this is if you have to upload a CSV file. Suppose if you want to upload a Excel file, then we have pandas dot read Excel file. You can give the Excel file name. So similarly, again, ed is going to display my ed. Tail is going to display the bottom table. So this is basic introduction of pandas. So uh, we have seen about what is NumPy, what is series, what is data frame. Any doubts with this? Any doubts with this? I guess my machine learning students would have already learned all these things. So if you guys are not responding, I'll assume that there is no doubts, and I'll continue with the. So our next is various pandas operations we have. So your pandas, so pandas gives various types of operations. So we have, so over here I have taken an example of, I've uploaded this country population file from this particular URL. Okay, so pandas library dot read underscore CSV. This is my file. So when I just type this variable, it is going to display the top five and the bottom five values. Okay, and it is going to tell how many columns and how many rows that particular file has. So it has some 1704 rows and 6 columns. And then we have this describe command. So describe command is going to give me the various description about that file, that is a count, mean, standard deviation, percentile, 25 percentile, 50, 75 percentile, maximum and minimum value. Then we have sort underscore value. So it is going to sort the values based on ascending or descending value. So over here, this function is with respect to ascending. So by default, it is ascending order. So over here, I've given based on the life expectancy. I'm going to sort it. So you can see based on ascending order, this particular row is sorted. So first comes 23, 28, and 30. Okay, so I am displaying the top, head, that is first three values, and tail, first three, last three values. Next, when if I want to sort based on the GDP value, so it is going to sort based on the GDP value. So top three and bottom three. So you can see the top three in ascending order and bottom three with the descending order. So it's going to pick such values. So suppose if you want to arrange in descending order, you can use the same function sort, but you have to mention ascending equal to false, and the over here add. So by default, add function is going to display the top five values. If you want to display more than five values, then you can use an add of 10. And then we have some of the commands like append, concatenate, merge, and join operations, which your pandas library provides. So if you want to merge two data frames, so over here I have I have a file called states, which has city and state names, and one more file named cities, where I have city population area per square kilometer and density. Now, if I want to merge based on the values of based on states, so I have this function called merge. If I call this function, it is going to merge those two data frames to one data frame. So these are few operations with respect to your pandas. So next, we will see how to handle missing values. So your data frame, your data set consists of missing values, null values. So you can't directly use it for your modeling, machine learning modeling. So you can't fit your machine learning models on this raw data. So you have to implement some of the data cleaning procedure. You have to detect the outliers. You have to use some missing value identification. You should select some features, feature extraction method, data transformation, and dimensional reduction should happen. So such methodology should happen before you actually start working with your machine learning algorithms. So for this we have functions like we have drop NA, fill NA. So your NA in is missing numerical data. So your data might have NaN values. Suppose you can download the data from the repository like UCI or UCI repository, Kaggle. There are many repository datasets repository. So you just download some data set and look into the data set. You might have some missing values. You might have some missing numerical data and null values. In such cases, if you directly use those data, it is going to affect the performance of your algorithm. So in that, so it's very important you pre-process your data, I mean pre-process your data sets before you use it. So for this we have various functions. So we have functions like is null, not null, drop NA, fill NA. So is null is going to check if there is any boolean value missing values. Not null is basically opposite of null. It's going to check if there is any null value or not. Drop NA is going to filter all the versions of, if you have NA and values, it's going to drop those values. Fill NA is going to fill your data with the missing values. It's going to return a copy of data with missing values filled or imputed. Okay. So these are the pandas operations which you have. You can see you can drop a particular column which has NaN values or null values. Suppose you want to fill with some particular value, then you have this function called fill Na. So you have data dot fill Na of 0. So then we have functions like forward fill. So forward fill will copy the values, the top value it will copy to the bottom. So over here, this is my actual data frame. So I'm going to, when I use forward fill, that is double fi double li forward fill, it's going to copy the, wherever there is nan value, it's going to copy the front value. Okay. Over here, the one value, the A index as one value, B index as NaN value. So it is going to copy the first eighth index value to the bth index value. Similarly, C's value is going to copy to D's value. So this is called forward fill. Suppose you want to copy the value from the backwards, from the next values backward, then you have BFI So BFI will copy the backward values. So this is my actual series A, B, C, D, E. So you can see when once I apply BFFIL, that is backward fill. So the values, the C's value is copied to B, the E's value is copied to D. So this is how we make use of forward fill and backward fill. Okay, so using this forward fill, backward fill, you can handle the missing values. So any doubts to in this missing values? Any doubts? Okay, I'll go ahead with the. I wanted to show one line histograms and plots. So this particular, suppose you want to show the visualization of your data sets, then we make use of this matplot library. Again, if you're using for the first time, you have to install it. So to install it, we have this like function pip install matplot library. Okay, so before you use it, make sure you install it. So we have this function called as plot. Okay, so when you make use of this function plot and the type is bar, so it is going to display a bar chart. Okay, so this is my data set. So this is uh, the percentage. So based on the percentage, if I want to draw a bar chart, then I have this function. Next, similarly, based on what you want, based on what you want to call the function, you can mention it. So over here, I want to draw an histogram. So it's plot.histogram. So an histogram is displayed. Okay, so this is an histogram. So this bin gives you the size. So bigger the bin, the smaller the size of your histogram. So suppose I keep bin as 3, you can see the size of the. Okay, so based on the size of the bin, you can. Okay, so if I increase the size of the bin, it is going to reduce the size of this. Okay, so this is about histograms and box plots. Okay, yeah. So we'll see in depth other libraries in our upcoming DSCE ADDA session. I hope this session was useful for you guys. I hope you guys at least understood what is Jupyter Notebook, what are the various libraries available, how you can work with your machine learning or your data science topics. So if anyone needs this Python libraries, I'll mail it to you guys. You can either contact me through WhatsApp or you can mail it to me. I'll share these files to you guys. Okay, so we will wind up the session. We'll continue uh, other libraries in our upcoming DSE ADDA sessions. Okay. Yeah, thank you guys.
Thank you,
Thank
ma'am.
you, ma'am.
Chandrika ma'am will wind up the session, right?